Billy's friend, Dick, is absent today.
Hello, Ground Control. I'm Paul, and welcome to Retro Stellar, where a live stream is just an electric eel swimming down a creek. You know, it's been a while since I posted anything on YouTube. I've been battling colds, bronchitis, and allergies. You know, I powered through. I kept thinking I'd be well in a few days, but I just couldn't shake it. Eventually, I had to just shut it all down. I canceled my appointments. I logged off the computer. I turned off my phone and just stayed in bed all day. From time to time, sick or not, no matter what age you are, everybody needs a day off. As a kid, I wasn't a big fan of going to school. It started so early and lasted for hours. Being cooped up in a classroom week after week drove me crazy, and at times I'd get to my breaking point and resort to the only strategy I had that allowed me to survive: fake an illness and stay homesick. How to stay homesick. When you're a kid, faking an illness requires the stealth of a ninja and the balance of an acrobat. The goal is to find the fine line between being sick enough to earn a day at home without getting sent to the doctor. No one wants the unsavory treatments like green cough syrup, penicillin shots, or the much dreaded suppository. Some kids choose the sudden bout of nausea. I had a friend who, trying to dodge a math exam, chewed up his bologna sandwich, spit it into a baggie with a little red Kool-Aid, and hid it in his pocket. When the teacher's back was turned, he tossed the contents of the baggie on the floor and performed a convincing retching noise. Mission accomplished. He was sent home, test delayed. Gross, yes, but effective. Hats off to my buddy, but that wouldn't work for me. First, I would never sacrifice my sandwich at lunch. Second, if I went home with a bellyache, I'd lose my after-school treat, supper, dessert, fourth meal, midnight snack, and possibly the next day's victuals. Not worth it at all. My counterfeit affliction of choice was always the sore throat, achy, feeling feverish thing. It's hard for an adult to dispute it and gets you all the benefits of being sick with few of the limitations. My favorite method of achieving a hot, clammy face was to sit in front of a space heater for a bit, then splash a little water on my forehead. This low-grade fever, combined with the other symptoms that I mentioned, usually would get some sympathy from an adult. A little advice to others trying this tactic: you gotta play it cool here. Unless you're Sean Astin or Drew Barrymore, a kid acting like you're sick is a bad move. Melodramatic groaning and fake sneezes are a sure ticket to homeroom. Adults can see right through it. Just slump your shoulders a little bit, describe your malady in vague terms, and talk about how sleepy you are. Again, there's no good test for fatigue. So if you follow the protocol properly, you've secured a day off. You won't be able to play with your friends after school, but you'll have an 8-hour holiday. I accomplished the trick a few times as a kid, and of course, I got some days off the hard way by actually being sick. Either way, the result was some well-deserved rest and a good bit of fun lounging in bed or on the couch. Here are the homesick activities I enjoyed the most as a kid. Number 1, catching up on my reading. In my case, this meant browsing one or more of the following publications. Comic books. My favorites were typical of my generation: Superman, Justice League, Batman, and Green Lantern on the DC side, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, and X-Men on the Marvel side. Another favorite was Namor, the Submariner. Of course, my friends and I called him the Submariner, and even now I'm not quite sure why it's pronounced the other way. Magazines. Famous Monsters of Filmland was without a doubt my favorite magazine. Forrest Ackerman's monthly journal kept me up to date on everything scary in Hollywood, and I challenge you to find a publication with photo captions more clever. Mad Magazine was a staple of my childhood reading list, along with also-rans like Cracked or Crazy. The artists of Mad Magazine, guys like Jack Davis, Don Martin, and Mort Drucker, were boyhood idols for me, and their work still holds up decades later. The 70s and 80s were a golden age for magazines, and with other popular titles available like Starlog, Fangoria, Creepy, and Dynamite, I never lacked for material. Number 2, watching television, of course. One of the first things I noticed when staying home was how vastly different TV was during the day. Other than a few educational shows for preschoolers, daytime shows weren't really aimed at kids. First up were the morning news shows, programs like Today or Good Morning America. You might find a low-budget local knockoff with some schmuck in a plaid jacket interviewing regional celebrities like the town fire marshal or members of a Girl Scout troop. A little later in the morning came the variety shows, bigger budget national fare hosted by the likes of Dinah Shore, Mike Douglas, or Merv Griffin. These shows were populated by second-rate actors, authors, singers, or chefs. There were some exceptions. I remember seeing Merv interview Henry Winkler, then at the height of his Happy Days fame. The shocking reveal that Fonzie's ultra-cool persona was just a put-on by the bookish actor was a jaw-dropper that I will never forget. As the day went on, there were other options: soap operas, cooking shows, and grainy low-budget westerns on that staticky UHF channel. But my favorite was always the game show. Charismatic hosts like Bob Eubanks, Monty Hall, and Alan Ludden breathed life into stock trivia challenges and basic games of chance. But the granddaddy of them all was Bob Barker, hosting The Price is Right. Those three little words, "come on down," kicked off a whirlwind of captivating competitions, from Contestant Row to Plinko to the Big Wheel and the Showcase Showdown. Bob's sign-off to control the pet population, have your pet spayed or neutered, led to a memorable dinner conversation between me and my dad at around age 12, when I asked what neuter meant. Number 3, playing inside. When I was young, a lot of my free time was spent outdoors, playing Nerf football, building forts, or riding my banana seat bike around the neighborhood. Sick days offered an alternative, a chance to enjoy some indoor fun. Remember, this was in a pre-video game, pre-internet era. If I was confined to the bed, I'd dump out my toy chest on the mattress and create elaborate action scenarios involving Hot Wheels cars, Major Matt Mason, and my Star Trek phaser. Stretch Armstrong and Evel Knievel might stop by to challenge G.I. Joe and Mego Aquaman to a boxing match, with the Etch-a-Sketch serving as a makeshift ring. As a budding artist, I could also while away the hours drawing or coloring, creating trippy abstracts with spirograph or spin art, or crafting a project from the only childcraft book that mattered, Volume 11, Make and Do. Number 4, snacking. If I were staying home alone on my personal day, yes, back in the 70s it wasn't that odd for a grade schooler to be left home unattended, I might whip up one of my many ingenious snacks, like the peanut butter, jelly, and Cool Whip sandwich. Trust me, it's delicious, but the sugar crash is pretty severe. Seeing a soap opera cocktail party on TV might inspire me to make my own fancy hors d'oeuvres. Let me share 3 of my favorites. First up, I have what was called the Piggyback, a cut-up Vienna sausage on a saltine cracker. Next up, I might manufacture the Green Goblin, a single green olive on a saltine cracker. Or if I was really feeling adventurous, I would make what I would call pizza, a bit of American cheese topped with ketchup on a saltine cracker. Now don't hate on the saltine crackers. My options were pretty limited. By mid-afternoon, the thrill of the day off would usually fade away. By now, my older brother was home from school to torment me, or I could see my friends through the window outside having fun down the street. Worst of all were the mimeograph sheets of busy work sent home by my teachers. And I would also feel a little bit guilty when my dad would come home from work, usually bringing me some sort of a comic book or a toy or a treat designed to make me feel better. Despite these drawbacks, the net result was wonderful. A staycation of my own making and a much-needed boost to help survive the rest of the school week. So that's how I stayed home sick. In closing, if you've ever taken a day off from school, I'd love to hear how you pulled it off and how you passed the time. So please let me know in the comments or message me on Twitter. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button to like this episode and subscribe if you haven't done it already. It really helps. See you next time on Retro Stellar, remembering yesterday's tomorrow's today. Thank you so much for watching. Please take a second and click the subscribe button to see future videos. Go to overjupiter.com for the best sci-fi, superhero, and pop culture t-shirts on this or any planet. Use the code RETRO15 to save 15% store-wide. See you next time.